Hi, in this tutorial I'll talk about two very important properties called resourceSuperType and resourceType. These are very important and you'll get some question in your interviews, as well as we'll see the practical use case of these properties. In this tutorial we'll talk about these properties with demo. So let's understand first property called resourceType. To understand this property, you must understand first each resource has a resource type which is used by a servlet or a script resolver to find a appropriate either servlet or script or scripts to handle the request for that particular resource. What you mean by that? Let's say you have multiple nodes and any request comes in for a particular resource, right? That resource is part of that request. So each resource must have something to fulfill the functionality for that resource. And how it is done? That is done by resource type. So it will check that property called resource type and find either servlet or scripts to complete the functionality. We'll see the practical use case of this with demo, and the property is this sling resource type. Another property is sling resourceSuperType. This property is used to achieve inheritance with AEM, right? If you are already know object oriented programming, so you know inheritance. We try to achieve, or we achieve the similar kind of inheritance in AEM. I'm saying similar kind of, I'm not saying exactly same. Okay, we'll see the practical use case of it. These are very important properties. So how we'll see this in a demo? Let's say you have a page and I have a component called geeks table. I drag and drop that component over page. So as soon as I drag and drop, there will be a node created in your parses. We'll see that. You can see that node in your CRXT. So that is a resource. Okay. When you refresh that URL, so that is a request, and that request include that resource as well, what you drag and drop on your page. So what happened? It will check the properties. There is a node, okay, of primary type CQ component, or it can be whatever you added. Now it will check this properties sling resource type. This property it will check and go to this path and check whether there is a scripts available or there is the associated servlet available with it. So what happened? It will go to the component, check what are the files there, means whatever the functionalities this provide, and give a response according to what is written in this component. There can be the scripts written which render something, or there can be the backend something written which achieves some functionality, or it can have a servlet binded to it, right? So it can be either servlet or scripts or any other functionality, backend functionality, right? So this is the use of resource type. But what happened? Let's say now let's understand I have already a resource and I want to take the functionality out of that resource and I want to use in my project. Let's say there's something is written and I want to use this functionality using inheritance. So in that case, you will use this property called sling resourceSuperType. So let's say what happened. Let's say I have a component, same component geeks table, and I drag and drop that component over my page. It has some files or it has something to render, right? But what I notice, like the same kind of functionality is already written somewhere else. So what I'll do, rather than writing off the entire functionality in my component or my resource, what I can do, I can inherit the existing functionality which I can reuse in my project. So that reusable thing or the inheritance of that particular functionality can be achieved using this property, right? Sling resourceSuperType. Again, you must understand this property can be used, like if you added this property will reach till here, but the resourceSuperType is used for inheritance, transitive functionality. I'll show you what I mean. Now let's understand this by demo. Now let's say I have a page and I have a component called geeks template in my new project which I created called geeks demo. So if you come here, let me go to the CRXD and show you here geeks demo components, and I have one component called geeks table. It will show everything right now static, right? Static value I have written here. So let me add this component here. Okay, geeks table, right? It has everything static. I'm doing nothing dynamic. It has header, few values here in table, and this I would say this red color is a footer, right? If you see here the component, it has geeks table, The processing start with this functionality, this file. I'll explain this in detail in a component when we'll have a component related tutorial. And what I'm doing, I'm including these three files here. Let's say t body, t footer, t header, and this style.html. So what is happening for header? If you see here, for this header, I am including this file, or everything is written in this header, right? The simple 2-line code, right? Same thing in body, that's 3 lines, which is written in this blue, and this header, this footer, just a 1 line, which is written in red, right? And to add the styles, I'm just adding this one style, right? The simple 3 line of CSS. That's it. So I'm doing here. So this component, now what you must understand here, when I drag and drop this component, a node has been created on this node structure. Let's go to this page now. Okay, go to the CRXT, go till this page here, right? This is my home, this is my JCR content, which contain your metadata of your page, root is your node, and now container. These things are related coming from my template. So this is the node which I added. As soon as I drag and drop, this node has been added. So how this component is rendering? You will find a property here called sling : resource type. So you will see here, as soon as I click on this node, you will see here a property called this sling resource type. And what is the path? Geeks demo component geeks template, which I have already explained. First it will go to the apps, and then it will go to the lib. So it will try to find this resource, or says the resource type at this path. So first it will go to here in apps, and then go to this geeks demo components, and it will reach here. Now script resolver find these scripts. Now using these script, these things is rendered, right? Whatever is written in those scripts, these are renders. Right now it did not find any servlet, right? In case it finds some resource type servlet, so it resource type servlet bind it to that resource, means this resource, so that will execute first, right? So in that case, you see the use case of this resource type, right? So this will check every time. It will try to find either servlet or scripts or any other file for processing this request, right, for this resource. So this happened. Now let's say another use case. Later on I found I already have a component, same kind of component written in my AEM Geeks. If you are coming to this channel first time or new to this channel, I already have a project called AEM Geeks, which I use to explain core concepts, right? So there I already have a component called Geeks template, right? Let's go there, Geeks template, and go to the content, and let's say here Geeks template, right? It has the similar kind of functionality, right? Let me drag and drop that component so that you can understand, right? It's called base geeks table. So in AEM Geeks content group, I have a base geeks table. Let me drag and drop this. So it has a similar kind of component, but you see the style is different, right? So what I see in this component, in my this project component, I say the functionality is similar with some additional features, like let's say styles, or let's say for example I want to add a header as well for this table, right? I need to add some title. So how can I reuse the functionality which is available, and on top of that functionality I can write my own functionality, right? So instead of I'm writing the entire component here, right now I am in AEM Geeks, which has all these functionalities, and in my component here where this table Geeks demo, in Geeks demo I'm just repeating these functionalities. So how I can achieve that inheritance which I can reuse, which is already written in some other project or my own project as well, right? So for that, this sling resourceSuperType property is used. So I will go to this component, right, in my Geeks demo component, and I will add a property called sling : resourceSuperType. So now you will see in this component Geeks table, I removed everything. It is just a node now, right? And I added a property here. If you see resource resource super type, and now it is pointing to my AEM geeks component, right? Either you can give absolute path, or this is resolved first in apps and then lib. So it will go to apps and it will try to find this resource, right? Now the property is called sling resource super type. Now what happened, right? Now let me refresh this here. Okay, let me come here. This is my page, and let me refresh. So if you see, this component is still rendering, right? But whatever the style I had earlier, it is rendering that. So now using resource type, it is coming here. Okay, it is come here. This is the resource type, but here it find a resource super type. So it will now it is using inheritance. It will go here in this, right? Now this is actual the resource type which is being used to achieve the functionality, means these are the scripts to render your component, right? Now, but the thing is, I want a different style here, right? I want a different style, and I want a header as well, right? So let's say what you can do, I have a file called style here. What I can do, I can create the same file in my component here, right? My component right now, it has nothing. Geeks table has nothing. So what I'll do, I'll create a file here, right? And I'll change the style here. Let's say I would say I need this green, and I need a red here. Let's say blue, and let's say red, right? And I saved it. Now what happened? What should happen as per the simple concept of inheritance? So what is available in your resource type now, that will be used. If which is not available and that is coming from your parent component, those are used. So in case if you have your own file, that is being used. If it is not, that will come from the parent component, right? Now if I refresh this now, what should happen? Let's refresh this. Now see the style. See, the style is being picked from my local file, right? I have the same file here, and I have same file here as well, right? So it will pick my files. So now you will understand the inheritance. This we in Java also, in any other objective programming also, we have same kind of inheritance, similar kind of things we have, right? Now let's say you want to add a header as well. So what you will do, right? You create your own file there and add a header. So we already have a file called, you will see here, T head. Or if you don't want that, you can create your own file. You can create this file as well. So either this file, let's say this file. So what I'll do, I'll copy this file. Let's say let me copy this file itself also and come here, right? Now let me paste. So what happened, now this file will be used, right? I'm including these files which is not in my component, but still those are used because those are coming from my parent component. So if I refresh this, you will see the no difference here, right? Because now my local file is used and there's a no difference. Now let me update this. So this is my table starting, and now let me add a h2 here in my this file, right? So if you notice here, I use a additional h2 here, right? This one h2. So what happened, if I refresh this page now, what should happen? My local file will be used and you must see a additional h2 heading here. Let me refresh this, right? Okay, I think I forgot to save. Okay, this is not rendering because I am adding in my parent component. You see, this is component is geeks, right? So my local is being used, so that's why it's not visible. I added in a wrong file. So let me remove it from here, and I have to open this file which is my local, and now let me add this here, right? So because I have my local file, I have my resource type, my component. So now if I refresh this, it should visible now. Okay, so you see writer information has been visible. So now what is happening? Whatever I have on my local component, my component, that is being rendered. If I don't have those and those are coming from my parent, those are inherited from my parent, those will be used. So this is the use of this property called sling resource super type. Now let's understand one more concept. Generally this is being asked in your interview questions. So let's say let me open the dialog. You will see a field here called text, right? I'm using this for this title, template title. Now let me go back to this component here in CRXT. Okay, this is my Geeks demo and this one, but I don't see any dialog here, right? So what you understand, that means the dialog is also coming from my parent component. That means dialog is also being inherited. Now let's go back to that component, right, which is my resourceSuperType. It must be inside here, inside my Geeks table. But what I see here, I don't see dialog here as well, right? No. But what I have done to explain this concept, I created a one more component called Geeks table dialog, right? This component only contain a dialog. That's it, nothing else. But in Geeks table, in my AEM Geeks, again has a property called sling resourceSuperType to this base component, right, which has a dialog. So what you understood from this? This sling resourceSuperType property support transitivity, means multi-level inheritance, right? So what did you understand from this? So if you have multi-level inheritance, means you use this property for multi-level, right? Multiple. Whatever is written in the top component, that is inherited till your bottom, whatever is the last in your inheritance hierarchy, right? So this is my component, right? Now I use this component from the Geeks demo and let me add here table title, right? Obviously I did not write the code to display this, but let me write that. But what I'll do, I will write in the last one, right here, Geeks table. So what I'll do, let me write here properties. So you will notice here dialog in my parent, mean my grandparent, but this file is of my own component, Geeks demo component, right? I'm saying properties dot table title, right, which is the field of my dialog which is present in my parent, grandparent. Still these dialog is also inherited, and if you see here, this is being displayed, right? So displayed. Now why did I explain all this to you? Now you must understand the use of core components. Why this skeleton was available when I straight away created a page here, let's say this page. Why entire thing was available, why these components were available, right? All the functionality were available ready for me, right? So same thing is happening here. So let's go to any component, right? Let me close this. First let's understand core component. So this is my Geeks one, right? This is my Geeks demo, new project which I created, and let's go to this component, page component, right? Page component, where it is, page component. So this component is used to render entire my template, right? You will see the only two files here. What these files are doing? First go to my core components, the core WCM components, and let's say what is the resource type for this? Core WCM component page v3 page, right? So component page v3 and then page, right? This is, you will see a number of files here, right? But we inherited only two files, right? Not inherited, we overwrite only two files, right? Why these two? So these two files are used to add my client lib. So what I'm saying, in these two files, add my client libs, right? Override the client lib load functionality which is written in my core components. Instead of using core components client libraries, load my client library, right? My project specific client libraries, that I'm saying in this file. Same I'm saying in footer, add the all client libraries in JavaScript. First load in header, load CSS, but in footer, load JavaScript. So that way the entire functionality is coming from core components, but I'm overwriting just two things here to override client library load, right? Same way, if you have additional functionality, you can overwrite any other file, or you can write your own file as well, but you have to load that somehow, right? Now even if you see here any component, right, let's say whatever the component is, button, right? What is the resource type? Is again core component button v2 button. It's coming here, button v2 button, And when you drag and drop that button component, the entire functionality is available to you, right? Why? That is coming from the core components. See here, right? Entire dialog is available, everything is available here, right? Let's say button and link is hash and whatever, anything, a label say button, right? I did not write anything there, right? It's empty, right? But this is visible, but my component doesn't have anything here, right? So that way these functionalities inherited from the core component. That's how the core component is used in your project, right? So now you understood the importance of these properties. Again, let me remind you, resource type property doesn't support transitivity, right? It's just one level. If you add it, you say resource type, it will go to the one level and it will find the scripts. But sling resourceSuperType support multiple levels, right? If you have 3-4 levels, whatever is written in the top, that will be inherited to till your bottom, which I showed you by example. I hope you understood. If you have any question, add your comment.